Just as a heads up, I want to go on when that gets to 6. Are we good? Oh, we are? Live from Rick Stotler Field on the campus of Florida Tech in Melbourne, it's Florida Tech Panther men's lacrosse as the Panthers host the Tampa Spartans on the Florida Tech Digital Network. And a pleasant good evening, everyone. Jerry Durney, glad to be talking with you once again on the Florida Tech Digital Network. And simply this, if you had told this team when they walked off the field in Tampa on January 30th that the next time that they would meet the Tampa Spartans, it would be for the Sunshine State Conference regular season championship, they might have believed you. It's a team that enters tonight with a quiet confidence and the results to back it up. Because simply put, there have been no flukes. There's been no math, no tiebreakers, no miracles needed for the Panthers to get to where they are tonight. And they are on the doorstep of what would be the first SSC championship of any kind in their history. But to do it, they will have to knock off the big dog of this league, and that is the Tampa Spartans, who are the reigning champions and were also a national finalist last season. Of course, Florida Tech come in with a record of 11-2, and they are unbeaten in SSC play, and they just did keep that alive last Saturday in West Palm Beach. They trailed 7-3 a little over 2 minutes into the third quarter, and you wondered if their title hopes would be for naught, but they slowly but surely chipped away at the deficit. They kept the Sailfish to 1 goal in the fourth quarter. They allowed one 90 seconds in and then no further. They trailed by 4 at that point, Gavin Stetcher got one back a little over a minute later. Then Thomas Strong at 7:54. Stetcher again at 6:28. And then Parker Kane with 1:37 to go sent it to overtime. And in the second overtime period, Joe Kovaleski won it at the 2:36 mark of the second overtime. And that sets up tonight's winner-take-all clash. As not only will tonight's winner have a trophy to show for it, but they'll also have the number one seed in the SSC tournament, which will start on Saturday. Now, both these teams are going to have a bye. These are going to be the top two seeds regardless. The question is, if there is a rematch in the Sunshine State Conference Final, and let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, that's still over a week away, who would have home field? For Florida Tech, they'll never have they haven't had a better opportunity than right now. They have pretty much handled their business all year long. Only two teams have scored more than 10 goals on Florida Tech all year. The Spartans are one of them. These are two of the best defenses in the nation as we enter play tonight. The Spartans surrender 7.06 goals per game. The Panthers at 7.69. This was a 2-2 game at halftime back on January 30th, so goals tonight will be at a premium. These are two of the best goalies in the league, and undoubtedly one of the two netminders tonight will surely be the SSC first-team All-Selection this year. And, of course, for Florida Tech, that's Jax Francisco, who won another SSC Defensive Player of the Week award earlier this week, his fourth of the year. And Jax enters tonight as the conference leader in saves percentage at .616 and saves per game at 12.23. His counterpart, Weston Schmidt, is second in saves percentage at .581, and he's fifth in saves per game at 8.75. Schmidt is the leader in goals against average at .695. Francisco right behind him at 7.61. Again, these are two of the very best in the nation. Schmidt's goals against average, second in the nation behind only Christian Tomei of Adelphi. Jax Francisco is fifth. We talk about save percentage. Jax Francisco is fourth. Weston Schmidt is 13th. His defense will be the name of the game tonight, and it might be a case of whoever scores last wins. Florida Tech, a program that has been slowly building in this, the fifth year under Brad MacArthur. It's built to this. They have slowly but surely done all of the little things, both on and off the field. They've learned to do it consistently. They've learned to do it right. And that's added up to the big things. And what that's added up to is the season that they've had so far entering tonight. 11-2 record against a Tampa team that enters with a record of 15-1. They are 6-0 in league play. Last time out for them was last Saturday at home against Lynn, a game they won 13-8. The Spartans' one loss this year was in overtime on March 7th at Anderson, 14-13. And of course, the Trojans are in the mix nationally as well. They are ranked number 8 in the latest USILA poll. Florida Tech is 7th. The Spartans are 2nd. It is just about time to meet tonight's starting lineups. So let's give them to you. First for the Tampa Spartans under fifth-year head coach J.B. Clark. In goal, we mentioned Weston Schmidt, the 6'1 graduate student from Centerville, Maryland. The 3 in goal will be Dom Rodera, the 5'11 senior from Wilmington, Delaware. Gordy Gombold, the 6'3 junior from Bloomington, Minnesota, along with the 6'1 graduate student from Bright Waters, New York. That'll be Robert Demert. The LSM will be Conley Stone, the senior from Summerfield, North Carolina. The short stick midi will be Harry Boland, the 5'8 junior from Caldwell, New Jersey. Facing off will be the 5'9 graduate student from Roswell, Georgia. That is MP Thomas. The 3 in attack is led by Jackson Bashaw, the senior from Jupiter, who is one of the very best in this conference. He is the leader for this Tampa front line, along with the 5'8 junior from Pittsford, New York, Rex Kesserling, as well as the 5'10 freshman from Newtown, Connecticut, Eric Burbank. Here is the 10 tonight for Brad MacArthur's Florida Tech Panthers. Of course, in goal, it is the 5'7 redshirt senior from Westminster, Maryland, Jax Francisco. The three in front of Jax will be the 6'4 redshirt senior from Richmond, Virginia, that's Steve Ulrichs, along with the 5'9 redshirt junior from Bolton, Ontario, Canada, Zach O, as well as Garrett Geminer, the 5'11 redshirt senior from Sykesville, Maryland. The LSM is the 6'2 junior from Palm Coast, Florida, Kevin Wolf. The short stick midi is the 6' junior from Bluffton, South Carolina, Brooks Van Esselston. Facing off is the 5'11 senior from Portage, Michigan, Carter Batt. In attack, it's the 6'3 freshman from Woodbury, Minnesota, Max Henry. The 6'3 freshman from Dallas, Georgia, Ryan Chancer. And the 6' junior from Lewis, Delaware, that is Joe Kovaleski. The starting lineup's just about wrapping up here at Rick Stotler Field as the crowd continuing to fill in here on this pretty Wednesday night here in Melbourne. It's time for the national anthem, so we'll step aside for that. And then it's time to face off for the Sunshine State Conference regular season championship. Stay with us right here on the Florida Tech Digital Network. We are ready to go here in Melbourne. Our officiating crew tonight is Sherwin Anderson, Kevin Postian, and Mark Martinez. 74 degrees here at the opening face-off. Wind out of the north at about 3.5 miles per hour. There are some clouds, but no chance of precipitation in the forecast. This will certainly be much warmer than the first time these two teams met, which was in the last weekend of January, which if you were down here in Florida around that time, that was when the freeze happened. Don't have to say too much more to remind you of that. Temperature should hold in the lower 70s for this one. We do expect the wind to move to the east at about 5 to 10 miles per hour for the duration of this one. This is the 24th all-time meeting between these two teams. The Panthers have won once, a 7-6 triumph back on March 21st, 2018, which was at the VTC field, which is just across the way here at the FW Olin Sports Complex. Of course, that year, Florida Tech were also in this situation. They played for the SSC title on the final game of the regular season. Florida Tech in their home white uniforms with the crimson lettering and numbering with the black trim, the crimson, gray, and black stripes on the sleeves, and the red shorts, the crimson shorts. Tampa wearing their road black uniforms with red lettering and numbering with the white trim, with the red undershirts, the black shorts, and the red stripe. Team set to meet at midfield. Quite simply, this is the biggest game this program has ever played. You can't ask for much better. An 11-2 season, perfect in conference, and you get Tampa at home. This is what you play for. They have earned the right to have this game, and they've earned the right to do something they've never done before. Florida Tech will go left to right on your screen here in the first 15 minutes. It'll be Carter Batt against a very good face-off specialist in MP Thomas. Buckle up. Let's see if we can't make a little history here on a Wednesday night in Melbourne. And we are underway. This will go towards the Panthers' offensive end, and it's going to shoot back towards the Spartans. And it'll be picked up by Conley Stone, senior out of North Carolina, and we are underway. And you get the feeling of this being two of the best defenses in the nation, and just how the first matchup went between these two teams. Scoring will be at a premium, and for Florida Tech, that means being able to force turnovers and make the most of their shots. You get the feeling whoever's got the better shot percentage tonight probably is winning this one too, as the first shot of the game is denied by Jax Francisco, who has continued to make history all year long every time he's taken the field, and he made even more on Saturday. He had 11 stops against PBA, and that last one was crucial, and not just for the state of the game, but it also earned him the Sunshine State career, the SSC career record for saves. That was his 687th, which moved him past Matt Lawley, who was at Florida Southern between 2014 and 2017, as Jax now stands as the new SSC career saves record holder, as the Panthers very nearly forced the turnover there. Loose ball on the deck. Shot clock is at 20 here for the Spartans. And a crossfield pass here, and the lanes keep shrinking here for Tampa, as Francisco able to deny the shot up high there from Eric Burbank, and the Panthers will have possession for the first time tonight. Jax Francisco coming up large to start this one. Fittingly enough, it's somewhat ironic that Florida Tech on the men's side now has the career saves record for the SSC, when they lost the women's record earlier this year. Stephanie Stewart had it, and that record was given over to Jessica Harklerode of St. Leo. Here's Landon Adelman, who's out there on the first offensive possession for Florida Tech. Chance here, and this will be Van Esselston, and he'll able to score on the bounce. On the far post, able to beat Weston Schmidt with the first shot on goal of the game for Florida Tech. And the perfect start for Florida Tech. They got a couple of stops on the defensive end, and with their first shot on goal, have the lead after 2 minutes and 1 second. Brooks Van Esselston, who has been crucial at both ends of the field this year, and is one of the Panthers who really took a jump this year, and has kind of been a big reason for why Florida Tech's been able to do what they've done. Scores his 19th of the year for Ryan Chancer. That will be his 12th assist of the season. And Florida Tech will work with the lead. Another draw win for Tampa. So they've taken both so far. Again, they've got a pretty good one in MP Thomas. Inside here, that's Connor McDonough. And first shot fired, and that's going to be wide. And that was taken by Rex Kesselring, junior out of Pittsford, New York. Spartans waste no time going right back into play. This will be Grant Green, who will be one of the players to watch for the Spartan attack tonight. Pass into traffic, knocked around, and Francisco smothered it because there were two more black shirts in the area. And Francisco said, forget pretty. Although Tampa able to create the turnover here with the interception. The pass stolen away from Gemeiner. And it was pulled down by Burbank, freshman out of Connecticut. Leading scorer for this Spartan team is Bashaw with 32. Tommy Ortega's another one, preseason All-America with 29. Kesselring has 28. And Grant Green has 24. Around they work. This is quick passing here from the Spartans. They'll go left. Firing is Green, and that's high into the left. Although Tampa had a man ahead. And bringing it back in will be Bashaw, the senior out of Jupiter. Quinn Olson really has grown in stature in terms of his role and how much time he's gotten as the season's gone along, doing a great job with the defending there. And we'll see if the Spartans can keep that alive. They can. Credit Quinn Olson, who hurried the pass there, and Florida Tech will take over. Quinn Olson was someone that, I talked with defensive coordinator Chris Hawley after practice last night. Quinn was a little bit behind in terms of the whole time. I had the button up. Chancer with the fake, and he loses his man. And Spartan slid over and was able to knock that away from Chancer, and a lot of physicality and a whistle, and that will be against Tampa, and Florida Tech will retain possession. A partial reset, well no, they'll get a full reset back to 80. Talking with J.B. Clark before the game, I said, what's the one thing that, out of all the times that you've played Florida Tech in your 5 years here, because these two are quite familiar, he said, what's the one issue you feel that they always present? He said, that's just big, strong athletes over there, and they get better at it every single year in terms of doing what they want to do. He said, we have to always be mindful of that. Chancer's pass knocked down. I think he was trying to find Jonah Borniak as Chancer withstood the hit at the near post, and here come the Spartans. This is Green, going to try to run at the net, and I don't know if Francisco stopped that or if that caught the crossbar. It's going towards the corner. It'll remain with the Spartans. And we'll see if it'll be a partial reset here for Tampa as we go back into play. And in the center circle with it, that's Kyle White, sophomore out of Dublin, Ohio. And they'll work it back to the left here, and opportunity and a shot bounce. That was an easy read for Francisco. Actually didn't even get to him. Kevin Wolf basically picked that off on the bounce there from Aaron Cho. It was actually tied as the leading scorer for the Spartans with 40 points. He has 18 goals, and he's their team leader in assists at 22. As Wolf able to execute the clear, Panthers remain top 5 in the nation in terms of clearing percentage. And here's our first look tonight at Thomas Strong. Winners tonight with 27 goals for the season to lead Tech. Chancer at the X. Kowaleski back for Van Esselstyn as Adelman will join the attack. Henry joining him. We mentioned Adelman, Strong, Van Esselstyn, and Kowaleski. With the shot clock down to 32. Joe with the fake trying to turn left. He'll get dispossessed over to Van Esselstyn. And back it'll go for Joe. He had his back to goal there. Now it's in the hands of Adelman at 20. Back to Thomas Strong. And it's going to be a lot of battles there between Thomas Strong and the Spartan defense tonight. Van Esselstyn has it with 10, and he's having a retreat. And there's really nothing there for Florida Tech right now with the shot clock down to 6. Strong going to drive downhill. He's got a chance to fire. It's going to be wide, and the shot clock's going to run out. The first shot clock violation for either team tonight. And Tampa will take over. Tampa 5-1 on the road this year. We mentioned their one loss at Anderson in overtime, and certainly no shame in that loss with how good the Trojans have been this year. Shot clock down to 60 as entering the fray is Rafe Bradshaw, the junior out of Arlington, Virginia. Tampa working from the right. Good coverage applied by Van Esselstyn. They'll continue to work. Almost operating in neutral for the moment. Good coverage provided by Florida Tech. This is Green with Van Esselstyn, the nearest defender. Goes cross-field with the shot clock at 25 and saved by Francisco. And it's ultimately picked up by Ulrichs as Florida Tech will get this over midfield. And another clear taken care of for Florida Tech. Round go the Panthers. Two freshmen, Chancer and Henry out there, along with J.D. Ross, Kovaleski. Van Esselstyn is there. Answer over to Brooks as Van Esselstyn will be picked up by Connor McDonough. Brooks looking for the opportunity in front. There was just too much traffic. He was trying to find Henry. And Kovaleski will keep this in play with the shot clock at 33. And you're going to see two well-drilled defensive teams tonight. And I always say, it doesn't have to be a high-scoring game for it to be good. I think we're going to get that here again tonight. Here's Van Esselstyn with the shot clock at 17. Brooks on the drive. The angle closed off as it goes to Chancer. He fumbled it momentarily, and now there's a battle for it. And I think the Spartans, if nothing else, they're at least going to burn time. And it'll be Panther ball, but now they'll get a partial reset. Back to 60, so a break for Florida Tech there as Ryan Chancer will bring it back in. And Florida Tech will run a new set with Stetcher, first time tonight, along with Aiden Addison. And there's a lot of traffic at the front of the cage tonight. Addison over to Ross with 40 to shoot on the drive. Ross pushed wide, didn't like what he had for the shot. Florida Tech will recycle possession back to Addison. Good screen set by Chancer. This could open something here for Stetcher, but he got interfered as he was going to let the shot go, so he was never able to fire the shot, and Tampa able to get the stop. 4 total shots on goal between the teams so far through 10 minutes. Florida Tech have connected with their only one. The spin move here and firing, and the shot deflected high from Cho. Francisco did get a stick to that to push that over. At least it looked that way to me. Green will bring it back in. A reset at 60. Round will go over to White. Now this will go for Cho. Get away from Quinn Olson. Continue to work around. And up high, this is Tommy Ortega. Senior transfer from Lindenwood, and right on the goal line, it's denied. As Jax Francisco got low and did whatever he could to smother that. 4 saves for the redshirt senior. And another perfect clear for Florida Tech, who are 5 of 6 so far tonight. Strong over to Van Esselstyn on the near side right. 4 minutes to play here in the first quarter. Right now, Brooks Van Esselstyn's goal, the sole difference between the teams. And so far, in terms of the style of the game, this has been about what we expected. Parker Kane getting his first action in the night along with Adelman. Van Esselstyn, Kovaleski, and Henry joining the attack. And before Florida Tech can make their move, play's blown dead, and it's an infraction on the Panthers. And Weston Schmidt will lead the charge. And Tampa kind of rotate every year at the goalie position. Kind of a place that if you're a Division I goalie, with a year or 2 of eligibility left, you want to be there, and Weston Schmidt is no different. Spent 4 years at the University of Maryland. Actually got to play a few minutes in their national semifinal win over Virginia in 2024. As that went wide, but Tampa will keep it, and Green will be the trigger. Picking it up will be Kevin Wolf. In the center circle now, it'll spread around for Bradshaw. Around back, it'll go for Burbank. Bradshaw for, I stand corrected, that's Kesselring. Good coverage being applied by Carson Mann, who is another player who really increased in responsibility as the year's gone along. And boy, Francisco slid, but I don't know if he had to stop that. That might have been going wide anyway. Shot clock down to 15 here. And the way we restart. Good coverage by the Panther defense. This is Bashaw being chased by three different white shirts and firing. And the shot wide there from Rafe Bradshaw with 6 to shoot. Kesselring will initiate play. 2:22 remaining here in the first quarter. Geminer applying pressure. Down to 1. And, well, the official blew it dead. And I don't know if that would have been a shot clock violation. I don't know if they're saying that it stopped too early, but he clearly signaled Florida Tech ball. And away we go. 2:04 to play here in the first. Francisco and Wolf trying to pass it out of the back here. This is the mark of a good team here as you're seeing Tampa apply pressure and not just simply getting back into a defensive position, but making Florida Tech work. Is in trouble there around midfield is Bobby McNamara, and that's going to be a call on Florida Tech. And Tampa will take over at 1:45. It's a Tampa team with national championship designs. And they are on a revenge mission, which we'll talk about when we start the second quarter here, because we only have 90 seconds left in the first. But this is a Spartan team that is looking to rewrite the ending, so to speak, from their 2025. This is Aaron Cho. Going to be picked up here by Chandler Potter. Good footwork, able to get away from his man, but I think Van Esselston might have redirected the pass, and that's J.P. Thomas over on the far side, working against Bashaw, and if nothing else, going to make life miserable there for Bashaw. It'll remain Tampa ball with exactly 1 minute remaining here in the first quarter, and the shot clock at 32. Cho getting away from Potter. This could be an opportunity for Tampa, and they're on the board through Eric Burbank. Right off the restart, Burbank crept in at Francisco's near post and was able to just sneak that by. And the Spartans have their first of the night on Eric Burbank's 22nd of the season. And for Aaron Cho, that is his 23rd assist of the season. Aaron Cho, 23 assists, good for second in the conference behind Aiden Nogin of St. Leo. 1-1 with 49 seconds remaining in the first quarter as the Spartans win the draw. And wouldn't you know it, there's Steve Ulrichs to create a turnover. Got dispossessed, but Geminer there to keep it alive. And I believe for Steve Ulrichs, if that goes down as a caused turnover, that is his 48th. Moved into 6th place in program history over the weekend, moving past Mike Cherry, who was a Panther from 2014 through 2017. Next up on the list for Steve, moving past Ricky Fedorchak, who there may not be any Panthers who have a better 1 year in the Crimson and Gray than Ricky Fedorchak. As that shot goes wide, Tech will have it, but the clock is stopped at 6 seconds. Parker Kane will bring it back in. Florida Tech answered right back, very nearly retook the lead. Here's Chancer trying to get a shot off before the buzzer. He will, but it's well high. And that will end the first 15 minutes here in Melbourne. And we are even after 1, which we pretty much expected. We go to the second quarter at Rick Stotler Field. It's Florida Tech 1, Tampa 1. This is Panther Men's Lacrosse on the Florida Tech Digital Network. Welcome back to Rick Stotler Field. We are even going to the second quarter. Quick look at the first quarter stats. Tampa outshot Florida Tech in that first quarter, 14-4, 6-1 in terms of shots on goal. Jax Francisco with 5 saves. Weston Schmidt only officially tested once, although Florida Tech did get a few attempts, although 3 of them were high. Spartans won all 3 faceoffs. The Panthers were 7 for 8 on clearances. Tampa 4 for 4. Florida Tech with 5 turnovers and 3 of them caused. Tampa with 3 turnovers and 1 of them caused. But really, so far, the story of the game, as we expected, has been the defenses. We thought it might be that. We figured that goals were going to be at a premium, and so far the first 15 minutes have told us no different. The drive here, this is White getting away from Carson Mann. They'll continue to work around. Behind the X, they'll swing over for Ortega, firing near side and just wide. I mentioned for the Spartans, they are trying to rewrite the ending after last year going 21-1. They were perfect in league play as Ulrich's able to create some confusion behind the cage. Still anybody's ball. Steve's got it. And now it's a chase between him and Kesselring along the boundary. And now back closer toward midfield. And ultimately out of there, I believe that was Carson Mann who got out of there with that and played it back to Francisco. But the Spartans last year beat Embry-Riddle in the SSC semifinals by 17 and then Rollins by 6 to get the double. They had the number 1 seed in the South region of the NCAA tournament. They beat Colorado Mesa and Wingate in the regional, and then Maryville in the Final Four, 12-8. And then they played at Delphi in a classic in the national championship game. They tied it with 6 minutes to go. They thought they had won it in the final 10 seconds. They thought they had scored, but as Tampa were getting ready to fire the shot that they thought had put them ahead, the Spartans had called timeout, nullifying the goal. It goes to overtime, and Delphi won it from there. And I asked J.B. Clark before the game, I said, for all the effort that goes into a season, if you start getting ready in October, that's almost 7 months. How do you get a group of young men that go through that to get them to dial back in after that? Because when you're that age, you can have such swings and the highs and lows are even greater than it would be to you or me. And he said, well, the good thing for us is, we had a bit of roster turnover coming out of that game last year. And he said, rather than, trying to use that as drive, for games, we want that to be our motivation in practice. For that to be the thing that, help get you that extra lift or finish that sprint. He said, but, it's not something that we've had to talk about too often, at least for the guys that are back. And a whistle there against the Spartans. Steve Ulrich drew it. And it was called on McDonough. And that's one of those things that, can make a team or break a team. I don't think you can get much closer to winning without winning than that. Of course, the example that leaps to mind is North Carolina in basketball about a decade ago, losing the national championship at the buzzer and coming back and winning it the next year. And said they discussed that ending first day of practice. They said, we're good enough to be there. And they were not going to be denied the next time. Florida Tech trying to get there for the first time. Borniak to Kane. Now Jack Cornwell getting his first action on the field tonight. Shot clock at 26. This is McNamara, who's taking on increased responsibility this season. Kowaleski works it over to Borniak. Lefty driving and backing down his defender. He'll lay it off. With it, here's Kowaleski with 11 to shoot. Matched up here against Rodera. And Joe turning and firing and just wide to the left. And 3 different Spartans giving chase. And Florida Tech was kind of bunched up over on that right side there, and there was nobody to track it, and Tampa will take over. 10:56 to go in the first half. Tied at 1. J.B. Clark took over ahead of the 2022 season after an incredibly successful career at Limestone. Year 1 led the Spartans to a 21-0 record and a national championship. They beat Florida Tech in the SSC semifinals that year. Down it goes, down to 10-20. And this is Tommy Ortega, the senior from Pennsylvania, and that pass off target. And another turnover by the Spartans. That's their 6th. And the energy level has not dropped for 1 second on the Panther bench. Even though the offense has been a little bit stymied by the Tampa defense, this is a bench that is not going to let its teammates on the field not feel like they have 40 guys behind them. Everyone on this team taking on a personal responsibility tonight, whether they're out there or not. Everybody's got a job to do tonight to make this happen. His Adelman shot goes just to the left of Weston Schmidt. Florida Tech will keep it with 40 on the shot clock. Kowaleski will keep it in. Back over to Kane. Trying to draw a couple of Spartan defenders and open up some spacing. As Kowaleski's pass deflected. And it'll be picked up. That ball's loose. Kane's there. Tampa might just have this anyway. Whole ton of traffic and a lot of physicality going on there. That ball's on the floor, and it'll ultimately be picked up by Conley Stone. And here come the Spartans. Onto the stick of Jackson Bashaw. Bashaw, the one to watch for this team. Second team All-SSC last year. Had 49 goals in 22 games last season. He also had just 1 turnover all year. And a shots on goal rate of .768, which translates to a shooting percentage of .516. Back up top for Grant Green. Green being covered by Borniak and now Thomas. JP doesn't have the most minutes in this defense, but he makes the most of when he's out there. He's someone that you can trust in important moments to be out there. And it really speaks to the depth of this defense that there are about 8 or 9 guys at the least that Brad MacArthur and Chris Hawley can put out there and feel confident about what they're doing. Shot clock down to 7 here. Work it back up high. Crossfield pass here. Opportunity. Shot clock down to 2. Firing, and that's deflected before it gets to Francisco. The last shot taken by Burbank. And that'll be the second shot clock violation forced by Florida Tech tonight as they execute the clear. They are now 11 for 12 there. 7:43 to go here in the first half as it's really filled in over on the far sides. Stands are pretty full, and a lot of the foot traffic in front of the barriers is pretty full too. I know we got a lot of Scholar athletes out here tonight supporting on from different teams here at Florida Tech. Out here supporting their fellow Panthers. Stetcher working through the screen over on the right for J.D. Ross. This is Kane. Kowaleski to his left. Back out now for Addison, who will be picked up by Harry Boland. And I'm going to put that shoulder into him. Now in the high slot for Ross, now Henry. Henry finds Addison. He'll keep working around. And this is Kowaleski, down to 15. And this is Stetcher. Opportunity here for Kowaleski, and I think Schmidt guided that over. That was on the bounce, and I think Schmidt might have pushed it up. Shot clock down to 6 and counting. Henry with it. Florida Tech's got to hurry here. And I wonder if Henry doesn't just flip this away, and Florida Tech can't even get that. And I believe that is the second or third shot clock violation for Florida Tech here in the first half. 6:32 here in the first half. Rather it'll go for Kyle White, now into the middle for Ortega. Ortega, a preseason first-team All-America by USILA and USA Lacrosse Magazine, and he was a first-team postseason All-American last year. 26 goals, 12 assists in 22 games. Florida Tech now leaving a ton of space here as they were going to crash the net there. I believe that was Justin Conley who was trying to crash the net, and Florida Tech broke that up. Tampa got it back, and J.B. Clark will call timeout, and we will take it with him. 5:45 to go in the second quarter, 1-1 between Florida Tech and Tampa. We'll be right back. This is Panther Men's Lacrosse on the Florida Tech Digital Network.
They had done.
Founded to educate the pioneers of the U.S. space program, Florida Tech's history is making history. Today we carry on this legacy, redefining what's possible, transforming dreams into reality, embarking on the endeavors most pivotal to the future. Florida Tech, making history, shaping the future.
.545 remains in the opening half. Florida Tech and Tampa remain tied at 1. Two of the best defenses in the nation have lived up to their reputation so far. Tampa will have possession when we restart. 31 on the shot clock, and Aaron Cho, the senior from Albertson, New York, a transfer from Boston University, will restart play. Van Esselstyn will pick him up, and Ulrich's there as the screen is set. Hand off for Kesselring, getting away from one. A good job by Francisco to poke the stick out and disrupt the pass to Cho. It'll remain Tampa possession with 16 on the clock. Again, it goes to Kesselring. Van Esselstyn is there. Parallel to goal. Geminer is there with the shot clock down to 5. Firing and off the crossbar. And that was let go by Kyle White. And it ricochets all the way back into the other end of the field. And a whistle on Florida Tech. Not sure for what. And I don't know how well you can hear the crowd from where we are. But if you can, that'll tell you a lot. Tampa will restart from the center circle through Kyle White. 5:05 to go in the first half. And the Panther defense will have to dial it back up. Round it goes. Here's White getting away from Van Esselstyn. Good job by Zach O getting the stick up. And boy, very nearly a momentary slip there for Florida Tech as Francisco was out of position while the ball was rolling around. Good job by Geminer getting it out of there. One of the unsung heroes of this defense. There's Van Esselstyn finishing it off. Plenty of space in the middle, and Brooks Van Esselstyn never hesitated, and he beats Weston Schmidt from distance. He's got his second of the night, and Florida Tech are back in front late in the first half with 4:38 remaining. Wait, there was a stop by Francisco, and the ground ball rolled in front of the net. Garrett Geminer safely got it out of there. He started to transition over to Zach O. O found Van Esselstyn on the other side of midfield, and Brooks Van Esselstyn never thought twice about it, let it go, and beat Weston Schmidt low. And the junior from Bluffton, South Carolina, who has been a pretty big part of what has been a great season for this Florida Tech team, and dare I say, should be on the All-SSC team when it's released next week, with his second of the night and his 20th of the campaign, and Florida Tech are back in front. And for this Florida Tech defense, nothing changes. The only thing really that honestly changes is just the knowledge you have the lead. And the task has to remain the same. Briggs out there, along with Carson Mann. Opportunity here for Grant Green. He'll lay it off for Bradshaw. Closest to him is Olsen. Green working it back out to the left. Mann is there. Good job by Griggs with the shot clock down to 15 and a save made by Francisco. Rebound is loose, and Tampa will get a reset back out to 60. It's tracked down by Burbank. Well, it says a lot about him that in a potential conference championship deciding game, J.B. Clark not only starting the freshman, but giving him heavy minutes to start so far, and the Spartans have tied it back up through Rafe Bradshaw. They beat Francisco stick side high, upper left corner, and it's 2-2 with 3:09 to go here in the first half on Rafe Bradshaw's 9th goal of the season. Back out to the X they go. It'll be Thomas against Shale Sager, and Shale's got it. Sophomore who's been pressed pretty quickly into duty from his freshman year last year, continuing to grow. We've seen his numbers get better as the season's gone along. However, the Spartans do win this duel. Spartans have won all 5 faceoffs. The assist, by the way, goes to Justin Conley. And for Conley, that's his 10th of the year. Firing and a save made by Francisco, although the Spartans have the rebound, and they've been really good at that tonight. The first shot was taken by Ortega. And it goes for Cho. Nova Guerrera is there. Cho working around. Kesselring back to the high slot. And Tampa, they're not an impatient team, but they're not a team that they're going to stay in one spot with the ball for too long. This is a team that is very quick in moving the ball around. That shot was high, and Tampa will bring it back in with 32 on the shot clock. Closest defender to it is Gemeiner. Under 2 minutes to play in the first half, and right now it's a carbon copy of the season opener. It is 2-2. Getting away from Guerrera. Opportunity here for Kesselring, net front, and another stop by Francisco. Boy, Jax really thrives in those spots. Maybe more so than any other challenge. And that pass was wide. And a rare misstep from Florida Tech on a clearance as the Spartans will take over at midfield. And Brad MacArthur will take time out. We'll keep it here with 1:35 remaining in the first half. I mentioned in the pregame, the top 2 seeds in the SSC tournament are already set. So these 2 teams will be off on Saturday. And they will await to see how the bracket shakes out, which we'll know in about an hour, maybe by 10 o'clock. I say that because Rollins and PBA just got underway at the top of the hour in Winter Park. 3 other games, or those were one of the 3 other games in the league today. First final was St. Leo defeating Lynn 15-6. So that has gone final in Boca Raton, and the Fighting Knights finished the season at 2-10 overall and 0-7 in league play. The St. Leo Lions have earned the number 3 seed. They go 9-5 in the regular season, a 5-2 mark in league play. They've got the 3 seed. And they'll still wait to see how everything else shakes out. One other game going on right now. Florida Southern have a 7-4 lead on Embry-Riddle with 7:47 to go in the third quarter. If that holds, the Moccasins will have the number 4 seed in the tournament. And the 5 seed would depend on the results of Embry-Riddle and Rollins. Palm Beach Atlantic trying to play their way into the 6th seed. And of course, and if Embry-Riddle loses that game, they'd be 2-5. And if PBA beats Rollins, they'd be 2-5. So we'd have to see how all that shook out. And speaking of which, as I say that, Palm Beach Atlantic, who gave Florida Tech an almighty scare on Saturday night, have just taken the lead on Rollins 3-2 with 7:28 to go in the first quarter at K-Hall Sandsburg Field in Winter Park. And we are back underway. We come up on the final 90 seconds of the first half here in Melbourne. Over to Cho. He'll run at Carson Mann, couple stutter steps and drifts into the middle. Back for Ortega. Physicality applied by Van Esselston. Back for Cho. Good shake left to right. And a good recovery by Carson Mann, too, to prevent the shot. They'll work it around. Out on the right for Grant Green. And nothing doing for him. He'll have to work back for Ortega. He'll be met by Zach O. He shakes him. Firing and the shot wide. Tampa will keep it with 41 on the shot clock and 56 on the game clock. So if Florida Tech can get a stop, they should have time for one more possession. It'll start over on the left. A crossfield pass back to Green. Mann is there. One-on-one there, and Grant Green able to beat Francisco up high, and the Spartans have their first lead of the game. With 44 seconds remaining in the first half, it's 3-2 to the Spartans. And for Grant Green, that is his 25th goal of the campaign. Spartans with 5 players who have at least 20 goals. And Carter Batt had it and able to track it down. And Florida Tech have a chance to score one more here before the break. And I think Brad MacArthur wants to draw up one more play here and give them a real good look here to tie this game up before the interval. We'll take the timeout with him. Now 32 seconds remain here in the first half. So we'll keep it here because we got the break coming up. So regardless of whether Florida Tech win or lose tonight, they will be off on Saturday, and we will reconvene here next Wednesday night, April the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. for the Sunshine State Conference semifinal. It will be the second home tournament game in program history. Of course, first one was 2 years ago, that quarterfinal against Lynn in 2024. That was won in overtime by Colin Stewart. Who knows what memories await Florida Tech that night. .30 seconds remain. Florida Tech have it. Lyndon Adelman gets us back underway. Over to Chancer. He's joined by Kovaleski, Thomas Strong. I believe that's Parker Kane and Max Henry. Over it goes to Joe. On the near side left. Back now for Kane. Down to 18 seconds. Joe will set the screen back to Joe. Kovaleski going to his left. Down to 9 seconds. Nothing really doing here for Florida Tech. Kovaleski's going to have to make something from nothing. And he gets dispossessed as his feet leave the ground. And there's going to be a whistle against Tampa. But there's 1 second on the clock for Florida Tech. And depending on, looking at where they're going to put the ball, they're not going to have enough time. Yeah, Kovaleski just fires that straight at Weston Schmidt. And that ends the first half. Well, almost identical to the first matchup in Tampa, although this time the Spartans have a 1-goal lead at the break. We'll take a 10-minute break, and then we'll be back for the second half. We've reached halftime at Rick Stotler Field. It's Tampa 3, Florida Tech 2. This is Panther Men's Lacrosse on the Florida Tech Digital Network. Welcome back as we get ready for the second half. Number 2 Tampa leading number 7 Florida Tech 3-2. Jerry Durney here with you on the Florida Tech Digital Network. Now look at the first half stats. The Spartans out shooting Florida Tech 25-9, 12-4 in terms of shots on goal, with Jax Francisco stopping 9 and Weston Schmidt stopping 2. Tampa winning 6 of the 7 faceoffs. They were a perfect 7 for 7 on clearances. Florida Tech were 12 for 14. The Panthers turned it over 8 times. 4 of them were caused. Tampa turned it over 6 times. 3 of them were caused. The goal scorers for Tampa in that first half, 1 each for Grant Green, Rafe Bradshaw, and Eric Burbank. The assists go to Aaron Cho and Justin Conley. 12 ground ball wins for Tampa in that first half as the Spartans win the draw there thanks to Ryan Thomas. 2 each for Burbank, Harry Boland, MP Thomas, as well as Ben Anton. Of the 4 caused turnovers, 1 by Burbank, 1 by Conley Stone, other by Desi Arup, and Evan Gibbs. For Florida Tech, 2 goals each came from Brooks Van Esselstyn, the assist to Ryan Chancer and Zach O. 6 ground ball wins for Florida Tech in that first half. Steve Ulrichs was the only Panther with more than 1. Of the 3 caused turnovers, Carter Batt with 1, Steve Ulrichs with another, and Max Watson with the other. The 1 faceoff win for Florida Tech was Carter Batt. For Tampa, MP Thomas had 6 of the 7 wins. And actually, all 6 of the first half. Ryan Thomas had the one to start this half. Here's Thomas Strong going left to right on your screen. And the pass to Chancer goes wide right. And for Florida Tech, their 9th turnover. And the worrying stat here is that in the first meeting between these teams, I mentioned it was 2-2 in the first half. Between those 2 teams that night. In the first half that night, Florida Tech had 14 total shots and 9 on goal. Tonight, they had 9 total shots, 4 on goal. It's tough to win a game that way, especially when you see the caliber of team that Tampa has. And I think it pretty well illustrates how small the margin for error is. Firing is Green, and that is just to the left of Francisco. Tampa will keep it with 35 on the shot clock. This is Kesselring. With Geminer giving chase. Back behind the net. This will set up Kyle White. On the near side right. Good defense being applied by Olsen here. On to the left side, this is Green. Van Esselstyn and Olsen with a good job. Might have taken a stick to the head there. But play to the left, this is Green. Another stop by Francisco, and quick reflexes to make sure Burbank couldn't get the rebound. 10 saves already for Jax Francisco after 32 minutes, and Jax by the end of the night might be at 700 for his career. A 4-year starter who has gotten better year by year, not just at the simple act of shot stopping, but you talk to Brad MacArthur and Chris Hawley and Zach Wynn, and they'll tell you year by year, Jax has added something else to his game. How many times have we seen Jax been the outlet passer on a fast break for Florida Tech as the pass was too high there, and both Florida Tech possessions so far here in the third quarter have ended in turnovers. I'll say this, the energy on the Florida Tech sideline, it has not been sapped. They're still talking, they're still active. And if there are any nerves, it's not showing. Brad MacArthur, when I talked with him yesterday, said, if you didn't have nerves coming into this, I'd question where you're at. But, let that translate into excitement and opportunity and not fear. There's no reason to be. The job chasing Cho here is Tampa has to bring it back out. Drive on the right, into the middle back, it'll go for Cho, and they'll work it again this time, and Burbank's shot's deflected. I think Max Watson might have been the one whose stick redirected it and sent it sky high. 25 to shoot here for Tampa. Kyle White with it, bringing it back from behind the cage. Now trying to lose his defender. Behind here is Bashaw. Over to Cho with 10 on the shot clock. Gets past Watson. Ulrich's closing that off. Shot clock down to 5. Good job by Steve. And that pass is kept alive by Ortega. Firing the shots high. There's the horn. And I believe that is the second shot clock violation forced by Florida Tech tonight. They've had a couple of their own, but again, these are two of the very best defenses in the country. Florida Tech came in averaging to 7.69 goals allowed per game. Tampa at 7.06. The last time Florida Tech allowed more than 9 goals in a game was back on February 21st when North Greenville did it. That was also their last loss. There's McNamara through traffic and might have got redirected because Schmidt didn't have to make the play on that. Tech will keep it. Parker Kane got the rebound. Shot clock at 33. Parker Kane. Screened by Borniak. He got the feed back. Trying to back down his defender. He'll play it over for Cornwell. Shot clock down to 16. He'll be picked up. Kane drifting near the cage. Borniak going to get doubled. He lost it. And that's ultimately going to be picked up by Harry Boland. Junior out of Caldwell, New Jersey. Trying to play it ahead. This is Schmidt. And he'll play the close pass to his right. Harry Boland last year played in 21 games, caused 12 turnovers, and had 17 ground balls. He's a transfer from Monmouth, where he played football at the FCS level. Mentioned Tampa going for what would be a third straight conference title. Of course, Rollins got it in 2023 when they made their deep run. In fact, it's the only time that Tampa didn't have a share of the conference title nor won the conference tournament. In 24, they got to the Final Four, lost by 1 to Lenoir-Rhyne. Mentioned in 23, they were upset in the first round by Lenoir-Rhyne. Of course, in 2022, won the national championship in J.B. Clark's first year as the save made by Francisco on the left-handed shot. And for Jax, that is his 11th save of the night. They'll find Stetcher, and they'll execute the clear. Stetcher finding J.D. Rawson. I don't know if Schmidt made the save or if that caught the post, but Kowaleski will catch the ricochet. And it goes for Florida Tech. Here's J.D. Ross. And they'll give the save to Schmidt. That's his third of the game. Stetcher behind the cage. Able to shake his defender. Gets it over to Ross. Lane closes off pretty quickly. Might have to play it back out to Kowaleski. Ross. Over it goes to Joe. Shot clock down to 21. This is Addison. Finding Henry. Henry being checked by Grant Green. Shot clock down to 15. Henry making the charge. And that somehow went wide. I thought for sure he had beaten Schmidt. Shot clock down to 8 here. Kowaleski in traffic. Got dispossessed. Stetcher giving chase with Schmidt. And it's the Spartan goalie who wins the duel there. And they'll lob this ahead for Noah Driggs. Driggs with it out of Landenberg, Pennsylvania. Florida Tech just not a lot there at the moment. Again, this is a well-drilled Tampa defense that's just not going to give them a lot of opportunities to take. Florida Tech have taken 3 shots here in the third quarter and 1 on goal. Here's Ortega with that left-handed shot, denied by Francisco. That may have been veering right, but Jax Francisco was not going to take any chances and pulled it down. And Wolf brings it over midfield. He's trying to find a Panther to lay that off to. Van Esselsen's nearby, but he's pretty well covered. And Wolf gets away from his man and plays this over for Zach O, who's in an unusual position for him, and gets it to Kovaleski. And Florida Tech waiting to make their personnel changes here. Chancer, Adelman, and Strong all waiting to come on as Thomas checks in. O will come off with 45 on the shot clock here. And now Chancer winner, his fellow freshman Henry has it. So two real good candidates right there for SSC Freshman of the Year. Between those two, take your pick. Shot clock down to 30 as Chancer gets dispossessed. That's on the ground. It's loose. Van Esselsen trying to win it back. And a nifty pass gets that to Desi Arup, the sophomore from Baltimore. Tampa able to keep it, and I don't know if Francisco stopped that, or at the very least it grazed him. Tampa will keep it. Shot clock at 65. Over it goes to Bashaw. Five total shots on goal so far for Florida Tech through 40 minutes, and that is very worrying. And this has been a defensive showcase here in the third quarter. Good passing by Tampa. They have kept that Florida Tech defense active, although Florida Tech's defense have been pretty much equal to task as that shot's high and wide, taken there by Burbank. Spartans keep it with 34 to shoot. Reminder, we will be here next Wednesday night at 7:30. Opponent to be determined for the SSC semifinals. And that pass was offline, and Florida Tech will take over. 8th turnover of the night by the Spartans, and that's not something they do a lot of. Turnovers per game is one of Tampa's best categories. Matter of fact, they lead the nation for fewest turnovers per game at 12.19. They just do not beat themselves. Florida Tech came into tonight in the top 30 in the nation at 18.15. Here's McNamara. Felt like he didn't have a lot of support there and didn't think he could make the pass. Now getting harried into the corner. That's knocked loose. Florida Tech will keep it with 56 on the shot clock. They'll get a partial reset, actually. Just under 4 minutes to go in the third quarter. Tampa continue to lead this 3-2. And it feels pretty appropriate considering how small the margins have been in this game. McNamara to Kovaleski. And he can't quite shake Arup. Back out to McNamara. Stutter step. Where it goes for Borniak with the lefty. Over to Parker Kane. Tampa just not allowing for a lot of movement for Florida Tech right now as Kane gets dispossessed. It's loose behind the cage. Schmidt is there. Somebody's stick just got broken, and Florida Tech will keep it with 17 and now a partial reset. We saw somebody's stick disintegrate behind the cage there on that sequence right before the whistle was blown. I'm not sure for who. I think that might have been Kovaleski. Well, no, it wasn't Joe because he just took the pass. Here's Cornwell with 42 on the shot clock. He's going to go right at his defender. Going for the wraparound. Pass to Borniak. Well, the angles are just really tough for Florida Tech tonight. And they'll find a way through thanks to Parker Kane. Made the cut. Perfect timing. Perfect feed there from Max Henry. Parker Kane caught it, swung it, and shot it all in one motion. And we are tied at 3. And Florida Tech, who have been dying for a route back into this game, have it with 2:46 to go in the third quarter. It's 3-3. That is Florida Tech's first goal since the 4:35 mark of the second quarter. And Parker Kane continues his impressive season. Been an active part of this offense. And for Parker Kane, that is his 16th goal of the year. For Max Henry, it's his 12th assist. And Florida Tech will take over. And this is a credit to the Panther spirit. Nothing changed. They just kept working. They just kept doing what they've done all night, what they've done all year. And we have a stoppage. I'm not sure what for. Okay, it's going to be a timing issue. So they'll take a little bit of time off, but Florida Tech will have possession with 2:29 as we get back underway. Should note, congratulations to the Florida Tech women's team who are in the SSC tournament. We're still waiting for the bracket to unveil itself. The SSC hasn't officially announced it, but we know the women will play in the quarterfinal on Saturday. They'll be on the road. Opponent not yet announced, but good luck to Kelsey Richardson and company, who have really opened some eyes this year. And you can put this in, mark this down right now here on Wednesday, April 15th. I'll call it. They're winning on Saturday. You can play this back to me on Monday, no matter what. Here's Stetcher. Talking with him is Sam Forte, a grad student out of Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Back to the high slot for Ross. Another one of those players that doesn't have the high stat total, but has been a pretty active part of the Panther offense all year long. Shot clock down to 15 as we come up on the final 90 seconds of the third quarter. Driving, firing. I don't know if that got to Schmidt or not. And I think it was going to be a crease violation on Florida Tech. And Tampa working quickly. And a lot of room here for the Spartans. This is Rodera in the middle as he plays it over to the left. And the Spartans are going to wait for the personnel changes to be made. With it here is Justin Conley, freshman out of Raleigh. The shot clock is about 3 seconds ahead of the game clock, so Tampa can pretty much play for the final shot here. I think even if Tampa were to run it all the way down and Florida Tech were to get the stop, they're not going to have enough time to come back up. So this should be the final possession of the third quarter here. Good coverage here from Colin Olson. And he'll check Aaron Cho. It's got to be a thrill for Colin having a chance to play with his brother this year. In this Quinn's freshman year, is this back high to Grant Green. And that's Chandler Potter with the coverage. Down to 23 seconds here in the third quarter. Nothing decided yet. This is Green. Going to go at Potter. He's parallel to goal. Kevin Wolf waiting for him. Spartans making their move. And pass got disrupted. Ball's on the floor. Giving chase. And winning it is Tampa. Opportunity here for Ortega. He'll fire towards goal. It's wide. And that'll be a shot clock violation. And that ends the third quarter. Well, no, they're going to put time back on the clock. I mean, Florida Tech are going to play this back from behind their own net with 2 seconds left. So, I mean, this is pretty much perfunctory here. It's not going to matter. Francisco fires ahead, and that will end the third quarter. This was everything you could have asked for if you were Florida Tech before this night started. You are going to the fourth quarter with the Sunshine State Conference Championship there to be won. We go to the fourth in Melbourne. It's Florida Tech 3, Tampa 3. We'll be back in 2 minutes. This is Panther Men's Lacrosse on the Florida Tech Digital Network. Well, this is exactly what you work for. There are 15 minutes left in the regular season, and the SSC conference title is there to be won for Florida Tech. It is 3-all between Florida Tech and Tampa as we start the fourth quarter here at Rick Stotler Field. And this was what you want. You've got a packed home crowd. Your fellow Scholar athletes are out here. Defense just shut out Tampa for a whole quarter. Your goalie has been on top of his game tonight. And that offense has kept fighting. Even though it has been tough for them to get shots tonight, they have still found a way to tie this game. It is all there for Florida Tech, and the fourth quarter is underway. The Panthers will be going right to left on your screen in their home whites as Carter Batt wins the faceoff. That's just the third win of the night for Florida Tech, and it couldn't have come at a better time. This is where every lesson they've learned on and off the field, really over the past 12 months, dating from when the 2025 season ended in Winter Park to right now, comes into play. Chancer slips, didn't lose his composure though. He's going to be checked, however, by Conley Stone. And they'll reset. This is Strong. Going past two defenders. You know there's going to be a moment tonight for Thomas Strong. Strong has 27 goals this year. He has scored in all 13 games this season. But the last time that Thomas Strong did not score in a game was in the regular season finale 364 days ago at St. Leo. Spartans will have it out there in defense for Florida Tech right now. It's Carson Mann, Quinn Olson, J.P. Thomas, Kevin Wolf, Garrett Geminer, and Steve Ulrichs, who, not for the first time this season, was named to the USILA Team of the Week today. And I sense an All-America in Steve Ulrich's future, and he might not be the only Panther who gets there, as that shot will go wide from Grant Green. Spartans will keep it with 37 on the clock. Joe works it over the left to Ortega, and now Green. Mann has that assignment. Olsen giving help. Trying to go for the net front, and that hit off the crossbar. It had Francisco beat, but it caught the crossbar. It's a reset for Tampa if they got it. Well, they did have it for a moment. Multiple Panthers jarred that ball loose. Quinn Olson was the one who picked it up. And the Panthers now waiting to get their personnel on the field. We have a whistle, and there's a flag away from the play, or at least away from the ball. And we'll see who it's on. They're going to discuss exactly what, although two players came off at the same time. We'll see for who. I think this might be on Florida Tech since they blew it with the advantage. And Quinn Olson's already taken the knee, so I think it's on Florida Tech. So I think they've got they mixed up the numbers between teams, so it's going to be, I believe, a conduct call on Quinn Olson, and it's an interference call on Aaron Cho, if I've got that right. So both teams are a man down. I believe that's a 30-second penalty, I believe, for both. And they'll rule that Tampa has it? I don't know how we got that out of that. And, well, not sure what that was for, but the Spartans will have it, and it's a 30-second penalty for both teams, so we resume. Florida Tech have been one of the very best penalty kill teams in the nation this year, and they'll need it here. Ortega going right at Zacho, firing, and he'll beat Francisco at the far post. And the Spartans are in front with 12:34 remaining. Tommy Ortega will get the goal. That is his first of the night and his 30th of the year. And the Spartans lead with 12:34 to go, and both penalties have been released. And that challenge remains tall for Florida Tech. They were able to get one past Weston Schmidt, but the challenge of being able to create looks has been the problem for Florida Tech tonight. They have not had more than 5 shots total in any quarter. 4 in the first, 5 in the second, 5 in the third, and we're 2.5 minutes into the fourth and have not had one yet, although that'll be a whistle against Tampa, and Florida Tech will take over. And they have not had more than 3 shots on goal in any quarter. Now, again, that's been efficiency that they buried their 1 shot on goal in the first. They buried 1 of 3 in the second. And they buried 1 of 2 in the third. But they're going to need at least 2 goals here in the fourth, as that one gets away from McNamara, and it's going to be picked up by Kesselring. And Tampa have numbers. And the teams have to hurry to get their personnel back on here. 11:40 to go, and Florida Tech trail by 1. The first regional rankings of the season were released today. And as is customary with Division II, those first rankings aren't in order. They are teams listed under consideration. And picking up Brent Green as that very nearly got by Ortega. Swings over to Cho with 35 on the shot clock. Good footwork by Potter, staying with Cho. Geminer providing the opportunity, and it won't matter anyway because Burbank has his second of the night. Just a little bit of space was all Burbank needed. Cho found Burbank, and it was a one-on-one opportunity, and he beat Jax Francisco up high. And Eric Burbank has his second of the game, his 23rd of the season. And the Spartans have their largest lead of the game at 5-3 with 10:56 remaining. Well, if you remember, going to the fourth quarter in that first matchup, Tampa led 6-5, and Florida Tech got it back down to a goal with 10:20 left. And then Tampa got 2 goals in a little over a minute and a half to put the game away. And it was a stretch really for about 5 to 6 minutes where Florida Tech just really had trouble maintaining possession and being able to get the ball off Tampa. As Steve Ulrichs creates the turnover there, and he just had to flick that ball away trying to avoid the pressure, and Tampa might get it right back. It's a huge ruckus on the near sideline. And Geminer's trying to putt that back to Francisco, just trying to do whatever he can. That gets beyond Jax, but there's no Spartans on that side of the field, and Florida Tech will be all right. As Brett MacArthur trying to get a timeout, or at least I thought that's what they were calling for. It's going to be a violation on Florida Tech. And the Panthers, really for the first time all night, look out of sorts. They've been behind in this game, but you can't say that they hadn't been composed to this point. And just now happens. With under 10 minutes to go, it's 5-3. Bashaw over to Cho, and now Ortega in the high slot. Met by Thomas, working over for Green. in that fourth quarter. Back on January 30th, Green had 2 of the goals, and Ortega had the one that capped the scoring with under a minute to go. Over it goes. Green back behind the X. Opportunity here for Kesselring. Good defense provided by Kevin Wolf. Shot clock down to 20 here. Ulrich's giving chase. Here we go. Ortega, that got knocked away by Thomas. Did he recover? Ball still loose, and J.P. Thomas will win it, and he plays it back to Jax. Trying to find that outlet pass, and does to Garrett Geminer. And he is over midfield. I mentioned that Brad MacArthur and J.B. Clark both started at their current jobs during the 2022 season. No team has played Tampa more often in that time than Florida Tech has. This is the 11th meeting between those teams. Adelman over for Thomas Strong, driving, and got interfered as the shot was let go, so that might register as a shot for Thomas, but he'll want more for himself there. It was considered a block shot for Strong. Thomas has just 2 on the night. Chancer going around the screen set by Kane, and they were trying to get it back to him, and Schmidt broke it up. Although this could be trouble here. Schmidt's on the ground, and Strong has it, and that'll get knocked away. And that was an opportunity there for Florida Tech with Schmidt out of his crease, and they could not get the shot away. And Tampa flexing their muscle tonight. Panthers with just 15 total shots, 6 on goal. 3 saves tonight for Weston Schmidt. And it's hard not to think about that in a game that has a margin right now of 2. Shot clock down to 30. On the drive here is Bradshaw firing, and an opportunity here, and a save made by Jax Francisco, and that's a big one in more ways than one, because that is career save number 700 for number 37. But more importantly, it keeps the game at 2, as Ulrichs gets this to Adelman. Now Ulrichs will head back over to his side. I am going to miss watching Jax Francisco whenever this ends. You just come to expect great things from him, and he has delivered over and over and over again. 6:20 to go. Florida Tech needs something fast. Kane over for Henry. Now at X, and he'll go back to Parker. With the shot fake, Kane into his defender. Back out for Addison. Can't afford to hesitate here. Here's J.D. Ross. Step for step with his defender, and that's Anton. Shot clock down to 12. Kovaleski with it, and just nothing opening up for Florida Tech. It's down to 6. Back it goes to Addison. He'll knock over one defender. Fire and score! That is a big boy goal there from Aiden Addison. And we still have a game. For Aiden Addison, that's his 4th goal of the season. It's his biggest in a Panther uniform, and it is a 1-goal game with 5:39 remaining. And a big face-off awaits here for Carter Batt. Florida Tech have won just 3 of the 12 here tonight. It doesn't matter if they get it here. And a chance to go right back to it. And this will be won by Noah Driggs. And for Tampa, another face-off win. That is their 10th of the night. And for Florida Tech, that was their first shot on goal in the 4th quarter. say this, they have made it count tonight. They have beaten Weston Schmidt on 4 of the 7 shots they've gotten on him. We come up on the final 5 here in Melbourne. 5-4 your score. And Tampa content to just burn time right now. As we always say, especially when Florida Tech is on the other side of the situation, and they can't come back if they don't have it. And a tough pass through traffic there by Grant Green, and it never finds a stick pocket, and it'll be Panther ball with 4:40 remaining. And maybe the biggest possession in program history coming here. Francisco into Jonah Borniak, and they'll complete the clear. Borniak for McNamara, and he's not the only Panther. Carson Mann is one of them, and he's also out here right now, but this is why you play box lacrosse, is to be able to handle the physicality in those tight spots and being able to take care of the ball. For spots like that, McNamara had his defender back to Cornwell in the high slot. Jack directing traffic. Guarded by Driggs. Shot clock down to 33. McNamara with the screen. Driggs stays with him. Schmidt left his cage momentarily. Here's McNamara trying to go for the wraparound. It's not there, though. Cut off by Harry Boland. McNamara trying to go high for Chancer. It finds Borniak. He'll get hacked. No call. And Tampa have room to run here. A lot of room, in fact. That's Boland. He'll play the pass. He might just take it all the way himself and scores. And it was another defender. It was Dom Rodera who scored. Off the turnover, took it all the way himself. After Borniak got knocked over, Rodera took it and then finished it himself for his second goal of the season. And Florida Tech have a mountain to climb with 3:27 remaining. And the Spartans will win this draw as it finds Ben Anton. And the pass going wide and out of bounds. And Florida Tech will take over. That's the 14th turnover of the night by the Spartans. That is above their season average, as Van Esselstyn very nearly loses it. And he's got to fend off a Tampa player. And Brooks will bring it over. 3 minutes remaining. The Panthers need 2 goals. Strong to Kovaleski. Now finding Chancer. And it'll be met by Josh Weitzman. Those shooting spaces have been so tough tonight for Florida Tech. Adelman over for Strong. Will be checked here by Demert. Over it'll go to Adelman. He'll fire with the left. Knocked down by Schmidt. I don't know how much he knew about it, but he got enough to smother it. And that is the 4th save of the night for Weston Schmidt with 2:20 remaining. And it is almost to the miracle stage here for Florida Tech. Inside the final 2 minutes. Green with Wolf giving chase, and this will find Bashaw. He'll be guarded by Gemeiner. When you talk about year-by-year improvement, I don't think there's a better example of it than Garrett Gemeiner, who had to work his way up the depth chart and has pretty much become a nailed-on starter these last 2 years. That gets knocked away. It'll find Bashaw, however. Back to Kesselring, and he lost it, and there's Ulrichs with the pickup. And here he goes. Ulrichs might just take this all the way himself. He can, and he's stopped by Schmidt. We've seen Steve Ulrich score a few of those over the years, and that might be it for Florida Tech with 1:12 to go. The chances were there for Florida Tech when it was a one-goal game, and even then, if you can score there and win a face-off, you've got a chance for one more opportunity, as that is right along the out-of-bounds line. Florida Tech will keep it. We're inside the final minute. Chancer getting absolutely hounded here by Demert. Ball's on the floor, and it'll be picked up by Harry Boland. And that may have shut the door for Florida Tech. Tampa won on the margins tonight, if that is going to be the end of it. And there's 30 seconds to go, and it just shows you how truly hard it is, as J.B. Clark will call timeout with 27 seconds remaining. We'll keep it here. But what this shows you is just how hard it truly is to win this league. And there is a reason why Tampa has been the standard for, and even before J.B. Clark took over, when Roy Whipple was in charge. They are the team everybody has been chasing, and you see why. I mean, by no means have Florida Tech played a bad game tonight. But they have needed to be just about perfect. I tell you, against almost any other team in the country, if you got inside the final minute and your opponent had 6 goals, you'd feel real good about where you are. It's just, this is what Tampa can do on both sides of the ball. They have been stopped 13 times tonight on 19 shots on goal by Jax Francisco. And they are 32 seconds away from another SSC title. The important thing for Florida Tech, you just want to remember that you've got another shot at these guys potentially waiting for you in a little over a week. And you can't, this is one of those, you learn what you can from this. I'm sure plenty of film will be poured into over the next 7 days. Slowly but surely, this Panther team has closed the gap. I mean, and this went from 4 on January 30th down to 2. Giving chase down there, I believe that is Ulrichs and Jaden Griggs. And this is going to find Kevin Wolf ahead to Van Esselston with 15 seconds remaining. Florida Tech going to pour as much as they can ahead here in the final seconds. Quinn Olson over to J.D. Ross. They're going to just fire it on Schmidt here and see if something can shake. Kovaleski denied by Schmidt. Kovaleski trying to knock it back in, and Florida Tech do score right at the buzzer. I believe that was Max Henry. The goal will stand, I believe. But the clock also hit 000, although I don't know if they're going to add time back on. I don't know if that's the end of the game or not. I don't know if that got waved off or not. Okay, so they're telling us that goal will not count. The goal will count. So Kovaleski put it home as time expires, and that'll be bittersweet for Florida Tech, as that 5th goal they needed that eluded them for so long will come right on 60 minutes. And the 2026 Sunshine State Conference Championship will be decided by 1 goal, and the Tampa Spartans have won it for a 3rd consecutive year. By the way, for Joe Kovaleski, that will be his 15th goal of the year. So take a look at the final stats of this one. The Spartans outshoot the Panthers 40-19, 19-9 in terms of shots on goal. 13 stops tonight for Jax Francisco, who brings his career total to 700 even. Weston Schmidt with 4 saves, although I think they might add 1 or 2 more there at the end. Pretty hectic sequence there at the end. The Spartans win 11 of the 14 faceoffs, 10 of them by MP Thomas for Tampa. Carter Batt had all 3 wins for Florida Tech. Tampa were perfect on the clearances, 19 of 19. Florida Tech, 23 of 26. Panthers turned it over 19 times, 12 of them were caused. Tampa turned it over 16 times, 10 were caused. 26 ground ball wins for the Spartans, 16 for Florida Tech. For the 6 goals for Florida Tech, Eric Burbank had 2, and then 1 each for Dom Rodera, Tommy Ortega, Grant Green, and Rafe Bradshaw. The assists go to Justin Conley and 2 for Aaron Cho. Of the 26 ground ball wins, 5 were by Harry Boland and 5 as well for MP Thomas. Of the 12 caused turnovers, Conley Stone had 4 to lead the way. For Florida Tech, 2 goals on the night for Brooks Van Esselston and then 1 each for Aiden Addison, Parker Kane, and Joe Kovaleski. 4 assists on the night, 1 each for Kovaleski, Ryan Chancer, Max Henry, and Zach O. On the 16 ground ball wins, Steve Ulrichs was your leader with 4. Also had 3 caused turnovers on the night, which brings his career total to 50, and that ties him for 5th most in program history. So for the Tampa Spartans, they are Sunshine State Conference champions in the regular season for a 3rd consecutive year. They finished the regular season with a record of 16-1, 7-0 in league play. They will have the bye into the SSC semifinal next Wednesday against an opponent to be determined. That'll be at the Namoli Family Complex. For Florida Tech, they finished the regular season with a record of 11-3, 6-1 in league play, and 7-1 at home. Well, we hope you've enjoyed tonight's broadcast despite the outcome. Our next broadcast of Panther Men's Lacrosse will be next Wednesday night, April the 22nd at 7:30 p.m. when the Panthers host the Sunshine State Conference semifinal against an opponent to be determined. For my executive producer, Sydney Fix, I'm Jerry Durney, signing off from Rick Stotler Field on the campus of Florida Tech in Melbourne, where once again your final score tonight was Tampa